Hey Go Gang, today we're doing something a little bit different, as we always do, and I want to bring you the 5 top Josekis to teach beginner players. And this video is really for 2 different types of people. Number 1, you are kind of a beginner, and you don't know what you're doing, and you would like some basic patterns to start out with in a game of Go. The second type of person this video is for is really those of you who do a lot of teaching to beginners. And which Josekis should you show them? And that's why I'm bringing you this top 5 list of where you start. Now, this all comes with a giant caveat, because in general, do not teach beginners Joseki. Like, if you are playing Go for a week and someone comes up to you and starts showing you all these crazy patterns and variations, your brain's going to explode, right? You are not going to understand it. You are going to have a problem. So if you find that you're a teacher and teaching beginners and you start showing beginners Joseki real early on, you're doing it wrong, okay? Let them play Go. Teach them the fun, the passion, show them the exciting things that can happen. But man, Josekis suck to learn. They're boring, and yes, they will help your game immensely, but there are so many of them. They're countless. Ugh, all right, anyway, that's just a pet peeve of mine. Like, whenever I see someone teaching a beginner Joseki, like, if they back into a Joseki accidentally, that's great. Reward them for it. Be like, hey, you discovered a Joseki. But anyway, let's get along with our list. I'm going to have some more subjective feelings and comments about teaching beginners Joseki as we go along here. But first, let's start with a 4-4 move. And white approaches here. And especially when you teach beginners, instead of teaching patterns, teach concepts. And the basic concept that we're going to start with here is when your opponent approaches you on one side, this is your opponent saying, I want this, I want to make this important. You don't have to fight them. You can agree. You can say, you know what, you get that, I'm going to get something even bigger, and go on this side. Super common thing in Go, where this cornerstone can extend in 2 different directions. Your opponent takes one, you take the other. You'd be surprised at how foreign that feels to a beginner. Beginners generally just want to attack everything and attach and fight, and that's great. Like, I don't want to kill that spirit. But there is this alternative concept. Oh, you want that? Great. I'm going to go over here and take this, and hopefully my side is bigger. The next move for white, and this is amended for our current times. If I was teaching this, 5 years ago, this would look very different. But white is going to attach, and again, this attachment, man, beginners and attachments, we could go down some deep, dark rabbit holes here, but we're not going to. We're going to stay on track and just focus on the pattern. Here, Atari, here. And I'm going to simplify this with this move, although, of course, a lot of people play this now. I'm going to play this. And next move for black is a choice. And I'm going to say you have this choice or you have this choice. And sometimes you have this choice or this choice, but we're not going to talk about those. Really, it's this choice or this choice. And let's get out some letters. And I'm going to actually end the Joseki here. I know that's a little bit premature. But it is true, like after this point, we get into so many choices that it really depends on the board position. Does white want to push up here? Does white want to jump out here? Does white want a tanuki? And the same thing here after this exchange. This is probably the most settled version of everything, where both players are pretty comfortable tanukiing. But really, basically, if you're teaching a beginner, this is as far as you need to really get them, up till about here, to understand this position. So great. I bet you all knew that Joseki, because we've seen it so many times. What's number 2 on this list? Although I guess this list should be ordered. I didn't really order it in terms of, the best. It's just the top 5. The second one is going to look very familiar. It's going to start the exact same way. But it is when black decides, you know what, black doesn't want a peaceful extension over here. Black wants to fight. And so, and really, black is unhappy with white emphasizing the top. This is the move black plays. In this case, white doesn't try to make the stone live. White says, oh, okay, you want this? Great, I'm going to take the corner, because the corner is always bigger. And again, I'm going to play this a little bit quickly, because I suspect everyone watching this video probably knows this Joseki. And if you don't, put it on half speed and go through those moves. Here's the second Joseki you should be showing and teaching beginners. And there's a really nice concept here, or a couple of really nice concepts when you're teaching, is that the corner is always bigger. And so when black plays this move, this doesn't really defend the corner. Amazingly, this move actually kind of does defend the corner. And actually, even though white can invade here, black's going to get nicer compensation on the outside. But when we play here, we can't accept quite as nice compensation, and so white will get a bigger corner. The second concept is which direction to block. Well, if you played this move, that means you're emphasizing the top. That means you probably want the top. To play here is inconsistent, though it is possible. If you don't actually, as black, care which side you get, like if you have stones on both sides to develop, it is true that this move is often better, right? And you can see, I'll play the old style, that, let's put a white stone somewhere over here. If black already had, some sort of extension here, you can see this wall is facing a nice developmental direction. Okay, so that's number 2. Is this pincer, jump in, build a wall. Oh, and yes, and then there's always the fun concept of black trying to play this way. Believe it or not, sometimes this is correct. This is actually more correct, I think, than players are taught to believe. We're taught like it's always wrong. But you can play here. It's just that you're very liable to get into trouble as black. If white, this is sort of the classic way to defeat this, is to extend and then cut. And then this fight is very good for white. Okay, but we're not here to cover that. We're just here covering the basic patterns, right? Not all the variations. You don't need to be able to answer all the variations. One of the best things about teaching beginners is that they'll have these questions for you of like, but wait, what happens if black plays here? And then you say, well, try to figure it out. And make them do the work, have them practice their reading. Okay, next variation. Let's say white can't choose a side to approach this stone. White just invades the corner. Great move. Super robot favorite move, right? Like everyone has to know millions of variations now with this invasion because it's so popular. I'm going to show you one. It goes like this. Black chooses the side. Picks a side at this point, basically. Let's not even try to go any more complex than that. I think most of you are going to expect me to say this. This is perhaps the most common, best move right now for black, but I'm not. I'm going to say this one. And the reason why I'm going to say this one is so much less likely to get black into trouble. So if you're teaching a beginner something, this is the shape they're looking for, is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then you can hane. And then if it goes like this, great. That's the end of Joseki. And if, as a slight variation here, if white does this, black can go do something else. If white just plays defensive rather than continuing this pushing fight. But if we continue the push fight, black gets a really nice wall, white gets a nice corner. The end. That's it. Like that's all you need to show. That's the concept. And if we even rewind to a preeminent concept, I think the concept is when black plays the 4-4 point, this does not promise the corner territory. Right? White can immediately take out the corner. It's just whether or not this wall is better for black than the corner territory is for white. It's just a total judgment call based on the entire rest of the game. That's a nice value to teach a beginner. Like you're trying to balance influence and territory, and sometimes the influence is worth more. If you're playing a chaotic game with lots of fights, oh man, that wall's gonna be worth a ton. If you're playing a game where everything's really peaceful and it really is everyone has solid groups and nothing's running around, every part of the board is divided, no one can build anything big, man, that corner territory is gonna be worth a lot more. So there you go. There's your top 3 out of 5 so far. The next one is gonna be very short. And again, each of these Josekis, when you teach a beginner, use it to teach a concept. Let's say black takes a 3-4 point. Ooh, scary move, right? Beginners do not like 3-4 points. 3-4 Josekis are scary. White can approach with the same type of knight move that white would in a 4-4 variation. And again, like I said, this is going to be a very short variation. Black's going to apply that same concept we saw in the first Joseki. Oh, white's going to favor this side. Great, I'm going to go build on this side and wait to attack. I'm going to find the opening to attack. I'm not going to try to squeeze this tube of toothpaste too suddenly. And the next move for white is just here. This is it. Both players can sort of tanuki here. Black should probably play another move at the top to really build this. But even then, I would say if you're teaching beginner, not important. Just, that's it. Like, done. Both players built a base of some sort. Yes, there's lots of follow-ups here in the corner for both players, or the kick for black. I should say white can sort of lean in or attach. Black was probably most likely going to kick here at some point if black gets the next move, but you don't need to teach any of that. We're talking beginners go, right? We're talking, basic concepts, get some stones on the board, and then play what you can, play the best game you can. Beautiful, right? That's your top 4th Joseki. And for the last one, this is a classic that I think most people know. It is this one. I do still see the high approach a lot, even though robots don't quite favor it as often as humans do. That has changed at the pro level, of course. Certainly in Q and even Dawn level games, I still see this high approach probably a little bit more often than I'm comfortable with at this point. And this is going to be, from all the other variations we've seen, the exception that breaks all the rules. Because in this case, we are going to learn an attach variation. We're going to attach and pull back. And there's another concept in here that's really great for teaching beginners. It's that, if you expose yourself a little bit, like black is actually weakening himself to attach, right? Notice, black is the one who's down on liberties. Right, get out my pen here. This stone only has 2 liberties, while the 2 white ones have 3 each. Black is the one who's in trouble. If you overextend, you need to spend a move. Whoa, nope, cancel that. How do I, erase, thank you. If you overextend, you need to spend some time to fix. And this might prompt the question, well, why would we overextend in the first place? Why not just play here? And the short answer is you can, but this shape is kind of terrible. And so this is better shape for white in this case. So if you overextend on a move, you need to have some time to pull your arm back. This is just when I was teaching a lot of beginners, I used to use this terrible metaphor, maybe a little bit too violent, of punching someone, where if you punch someone, you have to, and you want to punch them again, right? You want to continue to beat them up. Again, you can see how this is a terrible metaphor. You need to bring your arm back before you can punch again. You can't just punch someone and then wiggle your arm around to hit to do more damage. That's not how the laws of physics works. At least not for most people's, relative arm and hand strength. You need to punch and then pull back. You need to save your energy for those moments that you can strike. After this, white has 2 options. I don't really, they both come with their own quagmire of variations and problems and subtleties. I would say at the beginner level, it doesn't matter which one you play. Just pick one that you're most comfortable with. And if you play this one, that's great. You're going to extend to there. Now, here's another concept. Why are we extending this far? Well, I would tell a student, look, you basically, even though you have 3 stones here, they're a little bit scattered. It's kind of like a 2-stone wall, and we know 2-stone walls can extend 3 spaces, and that's a good concept, although a very confusing one to a beginner. And the same is true if we go back a second and play this one. Again, after white connects, black's going to continue to build this side. Again, 2-stone wall, 3-space extension. And so the same concept applies in both of these examples. Again, I don't think it matters so much when you're teaching a new player how to play Go and introducing the idea of Josekis, which one you teach. Teach whichever one you prefer. If you're really holding my feet to the fire, I would probably teach this one, even though I think this is the pedagogical better one, at least conceptually, for students to understand. The variations that come out of this are a little bit less complicated. So once you move beyond Joseki, this one, is fine. It's maybe perhaps a little bit safer, a little bit less interesting of a position. But still, you have these shoulder hits and invasions and things that you can. This is not over, right? Over here is what I'm trying to say. So, anyway, those are your 5 top Josekis to teach beginner players. And again, let me reemphasize some key points here. Number 1, do not teach beginners Joseki. Just don't do it. Resist the urge. Teach them how to play Go. And you can talk about shape, right? There's a stone you want to approach. A knight's move is a really great way to approach any stone on the board that's your opponent's. You want to make a strong shape between your 2 stones? Oh, well, a one-space jump or a nice jump is usually a pretty strong shape to defend territory. Those are great concepts, and they occur in each of these Josekis. You have that option. Another really key concept, again, one player often will take territory while another player will get influence. And now that is often fair, even though a beginner might not think it's fair for whatever reason. This can be fair, but the state of the game can change it dramatically just based on, is influence more valuable or points more valuable? Do you want to put up some points on the board, or do you want to parlay your strength into some more points later, or an attack, or something more severe? So if you are going to cross that terrible line of teaching beginners these Joseki patterns, again, these are my top 5. This is where I would start. But please do it within the guise of teaching concepts and heuristics and ways to feel the board rather than just rote patterns. So anyway, hope you all enjoyed this video. If you were a strong player and you don't teach anyone Go ever and you made it this far, what are you doing? You don't need this. Go watch a better video. Anyway, happy going and play as much Go as you can. I know most of you guys will have some number of days off for the holidays, and take advantage of it. Do something that fills you with joy and makes you and the people around you happy. And I know for a lot of us, that's playing games like Go. So, cheers.